thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about process, because we're all working on different things, and I was wondering if any of you would talk a little bit about your writing process and what you find particularly helpful. Mark.
Yes.
Anyone?
True. No, I tend to write in the morning. I usually try to write for about 3 or 4 hours, and I only do it in the summer because the rest of the year I'm teaching. And recently someone joked with me and said the 3 best things about being a teacher are June, July, and August. And in some ways it's true, because that's the only time I really do have to really focus on writing. But I think for me, writing really needs to be, I think in our culture we have this idea of the solitary writer, the person who just kind of, is alone in a garret and sweaty and just banging away at the typewriter. And I think that tends to romanticize writing, and it also tends to give a lot of people some very odd ideas about what writing is. And I really try to make my writing a lot more group-oriented, or maybe team-oriented. I mean, I think that all of my best writing has gone in front of other people. So I think workshopping for me is essential. Revision is essential, and so is editing. I mean, just having a work in front of somebody who kind of shares my vision and can say to me, I see what you're doing, I see where you're going with this, but I think this is how to go about doing it, as opposed to just me saying I'm some kind of lone genius who knows it all. I like to be able to share it with everybody before it starts going out into the public.
I think that's a great point. How many here are members of writers' groups? Okay. How many would like to be in a writers' group or thinking about it? Okay. I thought that actually segues into one of my questions. And how about for you guys, are you members of writers' groups, all of you?
I'm not, but since I'm doing a graduate degree, but I do have friends that I show my work to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like people that I feel comfortable with, that they know what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more, I've been involved in writers' groups, and sometimes I found it's kind of just like the workshop. The workshop becomes this kind of constrictive thing where people want to normalize everything. And the best friends I've met in workshops are those people that know what I'm trying to do, and they're not trying to make me do a certain thing. They're trying to make me do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Any tips on successful workshop experiences and what works?
Well, I was just going to add to that the workshop is a great possibility, but at the same time, I always think of that quote, no great art is made by committee. And there's that kind of threat. I mean, I belong to a writing group, but I do kind of, I use it in a different way. We don't share any old work. We come up with prompts, and then we write, and then we share what we write. And somehow that's really, like, a number of those stories have gotten published. And I think it's because, like what Natalie Goldberg says is, you've got to give yourself the permission to write the worst thing possible. And so if it's just a prompt and you're just doing it for fun, then you kind of have that leeway, but at the same time, when you finish writing, you're going to share it with a couple other writers. So it kind of forces you to write well at the same time. So it's kind of a nice combination. And then you also always leaving the workshop with new material rather than just, that's another, it's another way that some people can do it and some people hate writing on the spot with other people. So it depends on your inclination.
That's great. Anyone from the audience have any tips for writing group that's worked really well for you?
Well, just a comment. I'm in a writing class,
Okay.
and people make comments, and sometimes I think, no, that's not me. And sometimes I think, yeah. So you have to sort of learn to listen to what resonates.
That's an excellent point, and I think that's something that actually I'm in a writers group with Mark and Carla, and I think that's all of us. But that's true. I mean, basically, ultimately, it's your work, and so it isn't by committee. It's you're sharing those ideas, and then you take what works for you. I think that's a really good point.
And I think you have to train yourself to listen to your own reaction. And it's not always, do you like the comment or do you not like the comment? Sometimes if you really have a problem with a comment, there's something there you should respect.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, no, that's not how I write. I don't write that stuff. I'm writing what I'm writing.
And you want them to normalize it, as you said. Yeah.
Michael Cohen runs the the poetry workshop here, so actually